Hey folks, I got an opportunity to test ride a Verge TS Pro recently, and this is the test ride followed by some thoughts on electric motorcycles in general.
So Verge TS Pro test ride. I put down a reservation a long time ago. I don't know whether I'm gonna exercise that or not, but I'm happy that they're finally about to come to the US. Yeah. We've got a left handbrake. I'm told the US version will have a foot brake as well for legal reasons. Feels really good so far. I actually like having the handbrake.
Now we can talk.
Yeah, it feels good.
Every customer taking on this ride, they still laugh because I look at them and we start talking. We're used to the what?
I can't turn your volume up and down. What's happening?
Right. Probably heard the brake noise.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, that's unusual.
It's one of the nuances of the bike. I think it's the brake pad.
Very different feel from the GS. Definitely feels like a smaller bike. I don't know why the front brake makes a weird noise. They did warn me about that up front. That's kind of weird. I really want to understand why from an engineering perspective that's happening. Seems like an odd thing to leave in for like just a brake. Definitely in a reasonably forward position. It's definitely not a fully upright comfy position. It's definitely much more I don't know, they're trying to make, I think it's like, I don't know, sort of a mix between a cruiser and a sport bike position or something, because handlebars are fairly high, but you're definitely leaned forward on the bike. It's interesting, the bike makes a little bit of a noise when you're up around like 10 miles per hour or something, and then it becomes basically quiet after that. That's another thing they told me up front, and I'm curious as to why there's like a mechanical noise that goes away as opposed to just like ramping up in frequency. Nothing loud or so, just like a little buzz, you know. It's interesting, it feels... It's resisting turn-in a little bit compared to what I'm used to, meaning it feels like it doesn't quite want to turn. Not that it's a problem, it's just a difference compared to the GS and the 890. It doesn't really fall in, right? It wants to stand up and go straight, I feel like. So definitely like the feel of the bike. I would prefer a more upright position, like a more comfy position long term for longer rides, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm curious what it feels like after a while, because usually with the forward position you end up with sort of shoulder pain for longer rides. I want this, but like in a Goldwing package. And so yeah, I don't know if you caught that, but they are saying that the US version is going to have NACS or J3400 or whatever, the Tesla plug, and they are claiming that specifically they are going to be allowed to charge at Tesla chargers, i.e. superchargers, which assuming that plays out as planned, that is absolutely huge. If you're not familiar, the Tesla superchargers, well, let me return to it. Yeah, so the Tesla superchargers, if you're not familiar, they're just so much more reliable. You show up and it works, period, right? If it's some extreme situation, maybe you wait a couple of minutes or something, but like that's it. The all the other basically high-speed electric chargers, it's just a shit show of like they're broken all the time, whatever, blah blah blah, issue after issue. It's so bad, right? And not too long ago I had the Energica, and that has a CCS plug, right? So I actually experienced that firsthand, and it's just like, wow. The access to Tesla superchargers is just a big deal. I hope that over time other charging networks are going to become similarly reliable, but as of at least a few months ago, like it's a complete shit show compared to Tesla. So it does make a huge difference. I'm trying to figure out like the feel of the front and the steering. I don't mind it. It's just very different. It's like I said, it doesn't necessarily fall into the turn. I don't know if that's the thickness of the rear wheel. Maybe I don't think so though, because it's the rear. But at the same time, it feels very responsive. Like in terms of, I don't know. It's interesting. It's an interesting feeling. But it's one of those things you get used to. Just different. Different bikes are just different, right? And I'm used to all the ADV bikes and the dirt bikes, so it's been a while since I've been on a bike that has a sort of a different geometry and so on. The rake angle is probably entirely different, presumably. I love the handbrake, the rear handbrake, so to speak. Suspension is not awesome, like not a lot of travel, I think, and stuff. So like when it gets bumpy, it gets bumpy. It's definitely not a GS, you know, which I didn't expect either on, you know, for this kind of bike. Definitely pulls pretty well. It's really cool though. I'm still like, I'm not sure, like, would I want to go like 300 miles, 600 miles in a day? You know, but it feels good. It's definitely a good feeling. Yep. I mean, I'm a fan of the electric feel as well. Yeah. Right. If it weren't for gas stations and like group rides and things like that, it can be difficult sometimes. But I love the feeling of riding electric. Yeah.
Well, that's what's going to separate us from everyone else is the NACS charging.
Yeah, that helps a lot. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, it's a big deal.
Anyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, I take the test ride bike. If I need to take it home with me, I plug it into my normal wall outlet.
Yeah.
My patio.
Yeah.
It charges it overnight.
Yeah.
Super handy.
Yeah, the regen is decently strong. It doesn't come on in instantly. It definitely has an easing into it, which presumably is intentional, so it doesn't get jerky. I might actually prefer it to be a little bit more aggressive, so I can moderate with the throttle. Definitely not a big deal though. I like it. I like the feel overall. I really do. Especially for like a zipping around town kind of situation. Like I said, I don't long range. I don't know. I'd have to try it like on an actual long. I just suspect that it's not going to be super comfortable after a while because of the leaned forward position. Seat feels okay so far, but of course it's a shorter test ride, so it's very hard to tell what it's going to feel like after a few hours. And you do get highway pegs with this one built in. I'm not on the highway, but you know. Oh, he's not actually going right. So the highway pegs, that's actually great. I love that for long range. And it does work with this position, but I would, you know, you kind of want to be upright or lean back or something as well to make the full use of them, but definitely helpful for presumably for like long rides in terms of just stretching your legs.
We're going to do beast mode. I'll go first. I'm going to do launch. We're going to do it launch, and we'll just see how we go.
Okay.
And as I said,
sounds good.
Powerful, so get ready for it. And then obviously the regen braking is going to kick in.
Yep. Definitely feels fairly consistent torque-wise over speed, at least at these speeds. Yeah, it feels consistent. When does it start dropping off? Like at what speed?
Linear, man. It doesn't drop off. It keeps
really?
going.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, I've experienced it. So again?
Sure. Your blinker is on, by the way. I keep thinking you're turning right.
Oh, you do? Alright, one more time.
I'm a little bit more conservative than him in terms of how fast I want to go on this street. Violating all the parking garage rules. Are we backing in here? Okay. All right, well, it was a pretty decent test ride. I think it felt similar to what I imagined. Definitely liked it. I always like the feel of sort of the instant responsiveness of an electric motor. Definitely loved it. It was the first time I ever rode a Park West. Okay, so let's go left here. It was the first time I rode a bike with the handbrake, but I've been wanting to do that. It feels great. Obviously, I didn't have any issues about like, oh, you know, grabbing it, thinking it's the clutch or something like that. That wasn't an issue at all. Okay, let's see if we can get out of here. Yeah, so like I said, grabbing the brake as if it were a clutch didn't happen even once. That wasn't an issue. Yeah, I think honestly, like, my only issue is that it's not the kind of bike that I think that I would want, right? I like off-road stuff. I like ADVs. I like sort of, you know, a Goldwing. Like I would love like an electric Goldwing, basically. So that's what's you know, makes it not. It's not clear that it's a fit for me, given the kind of bike that I would like to have. But for what the type of the bike is, it was definitely a really good experience. So we'll see. Yeah, the fact, again, I mean, I was talking about it earlier, but the fact that they are actually going to be supporting or be able to charge at superchargers, Tesla superchargers, that's an absolutely huge deal. Makes an absolute huge difference. I mean, the only thing is it's not really a long-range bike, you know, it's not really meant for that, I think. But of course you can definitely ride it like that, but like, yeah, it just makes a huge difference. The issue with electric for me, I love electric from a field perspective and I would love to support it, but something to consider is that if you're just riding alone, it's similar to a car. You know, the trade-offs are a little bit different, but it's kind of similar. But if you're doing like group rides, right, and like groups, if you're the one person in the group that can't just like go to the same place, gas up real quick and whatever, that could get awkward, I think, pretty easily. So that's something that I think for bikes, because it's usually recreational for the most part, people do a lot of group riding often, that's something that is hard if you can't be at the same place. Also, you know, superchargers and stuff like that, they are going to be for travel corridors, it's great. But if you're like riding around the mountains, right, that's not necessarily where you're gonna have those things. So so I think that the trade-offs with electric, and that's, I'm speaking as a fan of electric overall, right, but the trade-offs are much more, like for a car, I absolutely want an electric. Like, it's just overall so much better for typical usage. As long as it's a Tesla, basically. If it's not a Tesla, it depends on the car and it gets complicated because it depends on what the charging situation is. But for a motorcycle, the trade-offs are worse, right? Even as an EV fan, you know, I mean, if I just want to ride around, I want a bike to ride around the city, awesome, totally freaking awesome. But if I want like a touring bike, if it's a sort of, if you are thinking about like ADV bikes, like the Zero DSRX or whatever, The trade-offs are different, right? The weight is more critical on a bike than a car, which means that you end up getting less range, because in a car you can get a car with like 400 or 500 miles of range at this point, but easily 250, 300 miles, right? Whereas with a bike, if you're talking highway speed, you're gonna get like 130, 150 or something like that, tops for the best ones, for the ones with the biggest batteries. Because you're more weight sensitive on a bike, you're more space sensitive on a bike, you have much worse, wind resistance, because you're a human being on a bike, right? Cars have a really good coefficient of drag, especially the EVs tend to be made like that. And so high speed on a motorcycle is just way, way worse than high speed on a car. So yeah, I think that's kind of the reality right now. So I suspect that for that reason and other reasons, but that's one reason why I think that bikes are gonna trail cars for sure in terms of the transitioning to mostly electric. You know, the group riding thing, that's just physical engineering trade-offs because of the different format and so on. Just the way people ride them, much more likely to be recreational, right? Like if you're like a delivery driver, if you're commuting, yes, but lots of riders don't just do that, right? It's a recreational thing, and it's a whole other type of use case. So densities, like battery densities, eventually doubling would be great, and then if charging speeds got even better, and with some time to build out chargers in an even more dense way than it is now, it'll eventually get there for sure. But I think today there's a certain percentage of use cases for which an electric bike is great, but I think that the percentage of use cases for which it isn't great is going to remain high for a while, just for those reasons. And again, I say that as an EV fan. I've been driving electric for quite a while. I really want the transition to happen. It makes sense, and they're just awesome to drive. You've got low latency, you've got the torque, you've got precision, but the reality is just a bit different for bikes than cars.
And that's the end of that. Thanks for watching.